doing out there? Welcome to the 1099 Nurse Practitioner Physician Assistant Freedom Masterclass mini course. So today I'm talking with Ryan Garcia, and I appreciate you joining me today, Ryan. Thank you so much. Hey, so Ryan, I understand you're a physician assistant. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I've been a PA for about 5 years now.
Awesome. So, I have been a 1099 CRNA and I've found a lot of joy and freedom in that. And so I've taught 1099 CRNAs. I'm going to be teaching physician assistants and nurse practitioners how to transition from W-2 to 1099. And I found out that that's what you do. Happened to meet Ryan on Reddit. Isn't that where we were? Yeah.
Great
awesome.
place.
So tell me about yourself. How did you come into becoming a 1099 physician assistant?
So I worked in internal medicine as a hospitalist for probably about 3 years by the time I started doing some extra 1099 work. This was before the pandemic. I started just kind of doing a little bit of work part-time and realized how great the monetary benefits and tax benefits were for 1099 versus a W-2 position, and all the freedom and everything that it really allowed. So when I found that out, just one of those things that seems like a no-brainer to jump over and make the switch.
Absolutely. No, I totally get it. And that is essentially what I did. I was kind of getting a little road weary as a W-2 because, it's always expected to do so much and just I wasn't getting a lot of appreciation. But did you notice when you became 1099, they were thanking you for showing up? Did you have that experience as well?
It's definitely a different experience. You do feel like you're valued a little bit higher, and that you are a little bit of a more important cog in the wheel because you're filling whatever need that they need at the time. So I definitely have noticed that for sure.
Yeah, and are you finding that there's plenty of work out there if you want to be 1099 that you could juggle a career as a 1099er?
Oh, most definitely. I get emails or texts or calls weekly, sometimes even daily, about different positions that are opened up, and that's specifically in hospital medicine. I mean, there's 1099s for surgery, cardiothoracic surgery, ICU, things like that. And so there's definitely a good booming market out there for it, especially with the way health care is kind of shifting right now. So,
and is the pay different than a W-2 pay?
The pay is definitely very different. The pay is much higher as a gross rate, but there is some stuff you kind of have to deal with on the back end for tax purposes and stuff like that. So you'll see a very high front end rate, where normally as a W-2 you might make $50 or $60 an hour, whereas it's normal for a 1099 to pull in 90 to 100 plus an hour. And again, I'm sure that's stuff that she'll cover in courses and stuff about handling the back end taxes.
Absolutely. And also when you think about the way that PAs are valued, how the reimbursement is for PAs, these people are making money on you. So it's like, they're living in these fantastic houses and, that your employers are doing quite well. So did you learn about your value in school, or have you come across it with the relative value guide, or has anybody taught you that, by the way? Just
mostly a school thing, but the relative value guide is not something I'm super familiar with. So
that's something that I'm going to teach and touch on, because in the 1099 PA masterclass, I teach you exactly how to know your value so you can know that you're getting a good deal for your hourly bang for your buck, But on the other end of that, have you done your taxes yet before as a 1099? Have you had that opportunity? Yeah.
Oh, yes, definitely have.
Have you found a CPA to find a good tax structure for you?
Yeah, I sure have. That was something very important to get nailed down early, is to have a CPA that's familiar with 1099 work and medical work and things like that. That was something I locked down very, very quickly.
And did that help you in minimizing your taxes? And tell me a little bit about that.
Very much so, because both my wife and I are both PAs. And so we're in a higher tax bracket that doesn't have a lot of tax breaks.
Right.
And so, I mean, like I said, I think last year on our tax breaks, we had almost no tax breaks. And so that's a stark contrast to the 1099 money that you make. So going from two W-2s to a W-2 and a 1099, the tax benefits are definitely notable.
Aren't they outstanding? Yeah, that is just so great. So are you enjoying your life as a 1099 physician assistant?
Yeah, very much so. It allows a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility, and fortunately the company that I've worked with has been very very good about everything. They understand when I started with them that I had no experience on any of this stuff, and now that we've kind of kept a relationship throughout the years, that they make it pretty easy for me.
Great. And would you say there's that when you're tapping into the job market for the first time, what would you recommend to somebody who is just brand new and wants to, not brand new as a PA, but brand new at the 1099 world? How would you recommend that they tap into that 1099 market?
And honestly, just a quick internet search, I think, is the best way to do it. That's kind of how I did it. Looked for travel PA jobs and came across the company and got quickly hooked up with a recruiter because it's not hard to find one. And also, I mean, ask around at your hospital, because if there's anybody that's been in medicine for more than a couple of years, chances are they've been contacted by a locums 1099 recruiter somewhere, and might have had a good or bad experience. So ask your friends, look on the internet, all great options to
Absolutely.
do it.
And in the 1099 physician assistant Freedom Masterclass, I teach people how to go directly to the source and who to speak with, so that you can go ahead and negotiate your 1099 without that middleman. So then that's going to boost your rate up even more.
Agreed.
So, yeah. Okay, well, that is really great. I'm loving what I'm hearing. Would you recommend that your cohorts look at this as a part-time thing to begin with, or to go ahead and just step into the full-time 1099 realm?
I think that heavily depends on your kind of personality. 1099 is great for some people. There's definitely some risk with it, because there might not always be a job, but most of the time what I've found, there definitely is. And so what I did is I kind of dipped my toe in a little bit, see what it was like, see if it's something that I would like doing. If you're the personality type that is comfortable going into a new environment that is completely unknown to you for weeks and months at a time, and then leaving it and going directly back into that again, maybe 1099 is great for you. If you're the person that wants to stay somewhere for 5 years and get to be known, and there's probably 1099 positions for that too, but just got to look around and see what's available.
Absolutely. So really have to kind of get busy doing an internet search, picking up the phone, look on the map even, and pull up, like if it's surgery centers or whatever your specialty is, and going to speak with the people. Yeah, that is great.
It's just really important to know what your skills are. I mean, that's the biggest thing that a recruiter will ask you, or someone will ask you, what can you do? Can you do procedures? Can you do histories and physicals? Can you stitch? Can you intubate? Do things like that. Very important things that you'll want to know when they reach out.
So do you happen to have a skills checklist that you provide to them, or do they offer that to you?
I have kind of just a list of things that I handle and take care of in just my normal CV.
Gotcha. Part of your CV?
Yeah, the CV is a pretty critical part. If you have all the information in there, it helps them to not have to ask you a zillion questions, which is great.
Do you actually have to travel far away, or are you traveling locally near your home?
My current one that I'm doing is about 2.5 hours away. And so I drive 2.5 hours and work out there for 4 or 5 days, and then come back to home base here.
Gotcha. And then you manage with they pay for your housing, your lodging, a daily stipend and that sort of thing, right?
Of course, they handle mileage reimbursement, they handle housing, and the pay is definitely plenty to handle anything you might need in the way. And they reimburse some for licensing and certifications. Like if they require a certification that you don't have, sometimes they'll work with you. Like if you do 8 or 9 shifts, they'll pay for that or something like that.
Nice. That's great. What do you think the opportunity for working near your home is, by just reaching out on your own and calling around and seeing if there's 1099 work? Do you feel like that there's probably a market for that?
I think there definitely is, dependent upon where you're at. If you're in a major metropolitan area, there's definitely
100%.
going to be work around for you. And if you start to get to the more rural areas, you might have to travel a little bit. But honestly, the job I'm doing is in a more rural area. And so it's like one of those things that sometimes the rural areas are the people that need help, not the major metropolitan areas. So I think
Right.
it just, you're not going to know unless you look. So get out there and go.
Absolutely. I know a lot of 1099 CRNAs who go to rural areas in particular in order to get great pay
For
and
sure.
great work. So they're like, it's worth it to them. Sometimes you can negotiate working there 1 or 2 weeks a month and being off a couple of weeks and do that ad infinitum. They love it. They can't find people to come out to the rural areas.
Yeah, it's
So
fantastic. It's usually a higher pay. A lot of times you have a lot more autonomy to work because I work overnight, and so it's just me, and so you got a lot of autonomy out there in the rural areas. So
you get a
make sure
lot of
you're comfortable.
respect.
Yeah.
And then do you have to deal with the big scary things, or are you able to assess and say that needs to go elsewhere?
So at my current position, I deal with like if anyone decompensates on the floor, I go up and handle the rapid responses and things like that. So that is a major part of my position that I'm in currently. If it converts to a code blue or they need to be transferred to the ICU, there's a closed ICU at the facility that I'm at. So an intensivist or ICU PA comes down and handles that at that point.
Perfect.
But I'm definitely in charge of it before that.
I love that. That is really awesome. Is that a critical access type situation or no, just a rural, another
It's
type?
it's a critical access
Critical
place.
access. So
Yeah.
this is what I want to say is for all the PAs out there in the country, that there are like zillions of critical access hospitals. And that is
Mhm.
something else that I teach. In my very first unit, I teach where to find the work. And
Mhm.
part of it is the critical access hospitals and the unique opportunities that they provide.
Very
So
much.
that's really exciting to hear you're doing that. I love that. So, well, great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. And I know that people have become inspired, and I know I'm certainly excited to hear about the work you're doing. I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful. It
Perfect.
sounds like
Thank you.
such a better lifestyle instead of being trapped in that W-2 world.
Oh yeah, I'd make that decision any day.
Yeah, you're picking your work schedule, you're picking your workplace. You don't like it, what are you going to do? Go get another place, right?
Exactly that.
Sweet. That's sweet. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for
All
having me.
right. This is Alicia Quanti signing off with the 1099 Physician Assistant Nurse Practitioner Freedom Masterclass. See y'all soon.